The argument began with a spoon. Kalu tapped the spoon on the table like a judge with a gavel. The sound was small, but it carried power, the kind of power that always pushed Nora to say sorry for things she did not do. He had come home late again, smelling of a perfume she did not own, with eyes that never settled on her face. "You made the soup too salty," he said, pushing his plate away. "I can fix it," Nora replied, already rising to her feet. He waved her down. 3 years, Nora. 3 years, and still no child. Food is not our problem." The words landed like stones. She kept her voice soft. "The doctor said I am healthy." "The doctor said," he repeated with a bitter laugh. "Did the doctor say you are a wife? Did the doctor say you can carry my name? People are laughing at me." Nora felt the old fear climb into her throat. Many times she had begged Kalu to do his own test. He would change the topic or walk out. He hated any question that pointed in his direction. Tonight, his anger was a storm looking for lightning. He stood, yanked open the wardrobe, and dragged out her old brown suitcase. "If you cannot give me a child, give me space." "It is midnight," she whispered. "Please, let us talk in the morning." He opened the front door. Rain poured as if the sky had cracked. He placed the suitcase on the wet tiles of the veranda and stepped back. "Do not come back until you learn how to be useful." The door slammed. The lock clicked. Nora was alone with the rain. She stood under the weak shelter of the veranda until wind pushed water onto her face. She pulled the suitcase down the steps and sat on it to rest her shaking legs. The street was quiet. Most houses were dark. A dog barked, then stopped. A small, cold river rushed along the gutter. Her thin gown clung to her body. She was an orphan and an only child. There was no mother to call, no father to knock on, no aunt who kept a spare key in a clay pot. But there was a memory, her mother's voice, gentle and strong. "When a storm refuses to end, look for a roof that will not leak your dignity." She almost laughed at the thought. What dignity did she have tonight? Her husband had thrown her into the rain like trash. She hugged herself and tried to steady her breath. Headlights slowed. A dark car rolled to a stop. Chike, the bachelor 2 houses away, the quiet neighbor with a neat compound, stepped out with an umbrella. People said he greeted softly, paid his bills early, and minded his business. He walked carefully through the rain and stopped a step away, leaving space. "Nora," he asked, his voice calm. "Are you all right?" She tried to speak. The cold held her tongue. He did not press her with questions. He tilted the umbrella to cover both her and the suitcase. "Please," he said, "come inside. No explanation tonight. Just warmth." She looked into his face. There was no judgment there, only steady concern. Pride and pain argued inside her, but the umbrella chose for her. She stood, and he carried the suitcase while she followed under the small circle of dry space. His house smelled of clean floors and warm air. He led her to a guest room, a simple room, but ready. A folded towel lay on the bed. A large t-shirt sat on the chair. A soft light glowed from a bedside lamp. "There is hot water," he said, keeping a respectful distance. "I will make tea. Take your time." The bathroom's first shock of hot water made her wince, then sigh. She saw a faint bruise on her arm from Kalu's rough grip during last week's quarrel. She pressed the towel there until the sting faded. She dressed in the t-shirt, which hung loose and safe. On the small table, steam rose from a mug. Next to it lay a note in tidy handwriting. "You are safe here." She touched the paper like it might disappear if she pressed too hard. She sipped the tea slowly. The heat spread through her chest and made her shoulders drop from her ears. She lay on the bed and watched the lamp's light pool on the wall. The house was quiet. No television shouting. No heavy footsteps. Outside, the rain softened, as if someone turned a knob. Nora's heartbeat slowed. She remembered the girl she once was. An orphan who promised herself to build a soft home one day. She had tried. But love without respect becomes a cage. The thought hurt, but it was clear. She closed her eyes. For the first time in months, sleep came without fear. In sleep, she saw a door. On one side, a storm. On the other side, a calm room with a note that said, "You are safe here." She stepped through and did not look back. Morning came like a gentle hand opening a curtain. A soft knock sounded. "I made breakfast," Chike said from the corridor. "Only if you feel up to it." Nora opened the door. The dining table held eggs, bread, and fruit. A new toothbrush sat beside a small pack of toiletries. Chike moved quietly in the kitchen, giving her space to sit, breathe, and be human again. "Thank you," she said, her voice stronger. "You're welcome," he replied. No one should be outside in a storm. They ate. He did not interrogate her. He asked only if she wanted more tea. When she finally spoke, she chose simple sentences. He listened with his eyes, not only his ears. He did not jump in with advice. He did not blame. He let her finish every line. "Would you like to see a doctor you're comfortable with?" he asked after a pause. "There is a good clinic nearby." Nora hesitated. With Kalu, the word clinic had ended in blame. With Chike, it sounded like care. She nodded. At the clinic, a nurse asked if she preferred a female doctor. "Yes," Nora said, relieved. The doctor listened, ordered basic checks, and spoke in plain words. There was no pity in her tone, only respect. In the waiting area, Chike scrolled on his phone. He did not pace. He did not press her with questions when she came out. He simply stood and said, "Ready to go?" They stopped at a small shop for clothes and soap. Chike lifted the bags without making a show of help. At home, he cooked rice and vegetables. The smell filled the small dining area and made Nora feel grounded. After dinner, she tried to wash the dishes, but he took the sponge gently from her hand. "Guest rules," he said with a small smile. "You rest." In the evening, they watched an old movie. At a serious scene, both of them laughed by mistake and then laughed again at themselves. The laughter surprised Nora. Her body remembered how to release tension instead of holding it like a secret. She texted a distant cousin, "I am safe." When Kalu's name flashed on her phone with repeated calls, she turned the screen down and did not answer. Instead, she looked around the room. The walls were plain. The lamp was simple, but the air felt clean. Safety is not only a place, she realized. It is the absence of fear. Over the next days, small things began to repair her. Chike left short notes. "There's pap in the pot. Warm for 2 minutes. Clinic at 11:30. I'll drive if you like. Your voice matters." She kept the notes in the drawer, then moved them under the lamp where she could see them. They took short evening walks. They returned before dark. They talked about books, plants, and simple food. No heavy promises. No tight demands. Kindness, she learned, is patient. By week's end, Nora's plan became clear. She would not return to Kalu. She would see a lawyer. She would open the next door herself. At the dining table that night, she said, "Thank you for not asking me to hurry." "Rushing breaks things," Chike replied. "We will move at the speed of peace." Nora smiled. The speed of peace. The phrase sat well in her chest. Later, alone in the guest room, she folded her few new clothes and arranged them in the drawer. The act felt like planting. She whispered to herself, "You are not broken. You are rebuilding." From the corridor, Chike's soft voice floated as he made a call about his work. It was an ordinary sound. Ordinary felt like a blessing. She closed her eyes and let the house hold her. Life in the house found a gentle rhythm. Mornings were for work and errands. Afternoons were for tea and quiet reading. Evenings were for short walks and early returns. Their conversations moved from polite to honest. Nora began to speak in full thoughts, not short answers. Chike listened the same way, fully present. One Sunday, high-life music drifted from a small speaker, warm, unhurried notes that made the air soft. Chike stood at the stove, stirring a bright stew. "Taste," he said, offering a spoon. Nora tasted, and tears surprised her. "It is good," she said. They both knew she meant more than the food. After dinner, she told him what she had never spoken from beginning to end. The insults that followed her like a shadow. Useless, empty, disgrace. The day Kalu threw her into the ring. The lonely clinic visits under a buzzing bulb. The messages she sent that had no reply. She did not exaggerate. She told the truth. "I am sorry," Chike said. "It was not a speech. It was respect. You carried too much alone." Silence settled. Not heavy, just true. Their hands rested on the table, close. By accident, they touched. They did not move away. "Nora," he said carefully, "I care about you. I do not want to be the man who rescued you from a bad night. I want to be the man who builds a good life with you, if that is what you want to." She heard the steadiness in his voice and felt a locked door inside her chest click open. "I want that," she said, voice steady. "But we must do it the right way. I need to be free on paper and free in my heart." "We can wait," he replied. "Love is patient without performing patience." He opened a drawer and brought out a small box. Inside was a simple silver ring. "This is not pressure," he said. "It is a promise. When you are ready, if you still want me, say yes again." Nora breathed out like someone releasing a long-held note. "Yes," she said, soft but sure. They leaned in and shared a gentle kiss. It was not a rescue. It was a quiet agreement. Afterward, they sat by the window and watched the last light leave the street. The lamp beside them drew a warm circle around their chairs. That night, Nora slept deeply. In her dream, she saw herself walking across a small bridge from one shore to another. On the far side, there was no noise of blame, no thick smoke of shame. Only a clear path and a steady hand waiting. In the morning, she returned the ring to its box and placed it on the shelf. "A promise for later," she said with a smile. Chike nodded. Later, he agreed. They kept their days clean. No secret corners. No heavy pressure. When they cooked simple meals. When they talked, they said what they meant. When they were silent, the silence felt safe. Nora called a lawyer and booked a first consultation. She wrote down the date in neat letters on a small paper and stuck it near the lamp. The word consultation did not scare her. It sounded like a door finally opening. That evening, as they washed plates side by side, she said, "Thank you for giving me space to heal, not a new cage." Chike smiled. "We are building a home, not a prison." Nora nodded. The words settled inside her like a seed in good soil. News travels even when people speak softly. Kalu learned Nora was staying at the neighbor's and that there was talk of an engagement. He arrived at Chike's gate in a neat shirt, holding flowers like a prop. He wore a face many women know, a performance of regret. "Nora," he called at the door, voice careful, "I was wrong. Come home. People are laughing at me. Let us forgive." Nora stepped into the doorway where sunlight met shade. Her shoulders were straight. "You want to fix your image," she said, calm and clear. "You never try to fix your heart. Marriage is for better or worse," he shot back. "You offered only worse," she replied. "You threw me into the rain at midnight. You cheated. You blame me for everything. I am not coming back." He tried new tools: guilt, duty, fear. "A good wife endures. A good man protects," she answered. "I will not live where I am not safe." His mouth tightened. When the old hooks would not hold, he dropped the flowers on the step and left. The bouquet leaned awkwardly, a staged apology with no audience. Nora went to the lawyer's office the next day. The room was small, the air cool, the chairs plain. The lawyer, a woman with careful eyes, listened, asked clear questions, and explained the process. Petition, service, waiting period, decree. No sweet lies. Only honest timelines. Bring any messages you want recorded, the lawyer said. We will keep everything clean. Outside, the city buzzed. Chike waited on a bench in the corridor, reading a file. He stood when Nora came out. Tea, he asked. They walked to a small stall. The seller poured black tea into 2 cups and pushed over a small bowl of sugar. They sat on plastic chairs and watched taxis pass. Nora wrapped her hands around the warm cup. The heat steadied her. Kalu called. She did not pick. Through the lawyer, she sent a single line. All communication goes through counsel. Without an audience, his performance lost energy. He came once more to the gate, looked at the quiet house, and left. During the waiting period, the lawyer filed the needed papers. Nora kept her days simple: work, meals, a short evening walk. When old fear tried to visit, she told herself the truth. You are not going back. You are moving forward. Weeks later, she signed the last set of documents. The lawyer slid a stamped paper across the desk. This is your decree, she said. Keep digital and physical copies. Nora walked outside and let the sun rest on her face. She did not shout or post online. Some victories belong to your body first. She breathed deeply, and the air felt new. Back home, she placed the decree in a folder and tucked it into a drawer. She took the ring box from the shelf and opened it. Chike looked at her, not rushing. Nora, he said, only if you want. I want, she replied, smiling. Now I can say yes again. They stood in the quiet living room. No bright lights. No large crowd. Only 2 people who had chosen peace. Chike slipped the simple ring on her finger. It fit like truth. Thank you, she said. For what? For waiting, she answered. For standing beside me, not in front of me. He nodded. We will keep it that way. They sat by the window and watched the evening come. The world outside continued its noise. Inside, the room held a different weather, steady, warm, and honest. The decree arrived on a Tuesday morning, sealed and stamped. Nora held it with careful fingers, as if the paper carried the weight of years. She read her name, then Kalu's, and the final line that said in firm language what her heart already knew. It was finished. She set the document on the table and looked out the window. The street was awake. 2 children racing on bicycles, a woman carrying bread, a taxi waiting for a passenger. Life did not stop for anyone's pain. It moved, steady and practical. Nora breathed in that same practicality. She poured water into a glass and drank slowly, letting the ordinary act feel like a ceremony. Chike came from the small study. Is it here? He asked, eyes kind but not intrusive. It is, she said, and passed the paper to him. He read it, nodded once, and returned it. We'll scan and save it in 2 places, he said. Cloud and a flash drive. He did not cheer or make speeches. He only added, well done, and the words settled deeper than applause. They agreed to keep the wedding small. Nora did not want to perform for crowds or retell her past. She wanted to step into her future quietly and wholly. They chose a small garden owned by a friend, green grass, jacaranda trees, a few white chairs under shade. The friend arranged a table with simple flowers in glass jars. Another friend offered to take photos without fuss, just moments as they happened. On the morning of the wedding, Nora woke with calm nerves. She did not need a heavy dress or long makeup hours. She wore a cream knee-length gown with a soft neckline and a tiny gold chain at her neck. She twisted her hair into a simple bun and slid on a pair of small earrings. When she looked in the mirror, a woman stared back. A woman who had learned the difference between silence that hides fear and quiet that holds peace. Chike wore a neat charcoal suit and a white shirt. No tie. He greeted the few guests as they arrived. the lawyer with careful eyes, the clinic doctor with a warm nod, two colleagues who knew how to be present without taking up space, and Nora's friend from school who had stayed through the years like a faithful bookmark. The ceremony began with birds talking in the trees. The officiant, an older woman with a clear voice, welcomed everyone, then spoke about love as protection, love as patience, love as a daily decision. Nora listened, and each line felt practical, like instructions for building a house that would not collapse in the rain. "Will you protect this peace?" the officiant asked them both. "I will," Nora said. "I will," Chike answered. They exchanged rings, simple silver bands. They said vows they had written the night before at the dining table. No big poetry, just promises in plain language, to speak honestly, to listen without weapons, to rest when tired, to ask for help, to guard each other's dignity, and to never use love as a rope. When the officiant pronounced them married, they did not shout. They smiled and embraced, and the photographer caught that exact second when their eyes closed with relief. The lawyer lifted a paper cup and said, "To legal clarity and warm kitchens." The doctor smiled and added, "To bodies that relax because hearts feel safe." They ate small sandwiches, fruit, and cake. A child chased bubbles across the grass, and everyone laughed when the bubbles popped on the child's cheek. Someone's quiet playlist ran in the background. Nothing dramatic, only gentle music that matched the day. After photos and hugs, they returned home. The apartment looked the same, yet everything was different. The two plants on the windowsill seemed greener. The framed line, "Peace is worth choosing," looked like it had been waiting for this day to mean even more. They changed clothes and prepared a simple meal together, pasta with a light sauce. There was something holy about boiling water and stirring sauce on the day you vowed to be steady. They ate by the window, speaking softly, smiling often, letting pauses be comfortable. They washed the dishes together and left them to dry. "Do you want a honeymoon trip?" Chike asked. "Not yet," Nora said. "I want to feel our home first. Then we can plan." So they made their first days of marriage like a gentle honeymoon at home. They took evening walks and greeted the neighbors. They cleaned the small balcony and placed 2 chairs there. They read in quiet, shared small discoveries, an old joke in a book, a bird building a nest near the roof, a new fruit at the market. They learned each other's rhythms, how Nora liked to think before she spoke, how Chike hummed when he worked, how both preferred to solve small problems within the hour before they grew large. One evening, they wrote a peace plan on a clean sheet of paper and stuck it inside a kitchen cabinet where only they could see. 1. Pause when voices rise. 2. Say what you feel, not what you fear. 3. Ask, "How can I help?" before giving advice. 4. No sleeping with anger if we can help it. 5. If one needs silence, set a time to return and talk. The plan was not magic. It was practice. And practice, they had learned, is how people keep love from rusting. A few days later, the clinic called with the final results from old tests. "Everything looks normal," the doctor said. "There is no clear reason for past delay. Sometimes the body waits for safety." Nora ended the call and told Chike. He nodded with quiet joy. They did not make new pressure. They simply placed hope on the table like a candle and let it burn, small but steady. That night they sat on the balcony, watching the sky change color. Their marriage felt like this. No fireworks, but a wide sky slowly turning gold. "Thank you," Nora said. "For what?" Chike asked. "For marrying me with your whole self," she said. "Not to fix me, to be with me." He took her hand. "We'll guard this," he said. Together, the wind slipped through the leaves and the plants on the windowsill moved as if they agreed. On a quiet Saturday, Nora woke before the sun. She did not know why. Maybe it was the cool air coming through the window, or the soft weight of calm in the room. She went to the bathroom and stood by the sink, thinking of nothing in particular. Then she saw the small box in the drawer, the one with the test strips they had bought and then forgotten, refusing to let hope become a daily exam. She hesitated, laughed at herself, and did it anyway. She set the strip on the edge of the sink and looked away. She washed her hands, counted to 30, and looked back. 2 lines. The second line grew darker, as if it wanted to be sure it was seen. Nora covered her mouth, then let out a sound that was half laugh, half prayer. "Chike," she called, voice shaking and bright. "Chike." He came quickly, hair sleep-tousled, worry on his face that changed to understanding the moment he saw her eyes. She held up the strip with both hands. He stared at it, then at her, and joy took his knees. He knelt, pressed his forehead gently to her stomach, and laughed quietly, the way grown men laugh when a gift is bigger than words. "Thank you," he whispered, "to God, to time, to every yes that had brought them here." At the clinic, the nurse dimmed the lights for the scan. The room glowed soft and clean. The doctor clicked a few keys and turned the screen. A small shape flickered. Then a sound filled the room, fast and certain, like small feet running across a wooden bridge. Nora closed her eyes and let tears roll without shame. The doctor smiled. "Strong heartbeat," she said. "You are about 8 weeks." They left with a printout that looked like a tiny star in a dark sky. At home, they pinned it to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a star. They bought a small notebook and wrote today's date on the first page, then added a simple line. "We heard you." Chike adjusted his routines without being asked. He put a glass of water by the bed each night. He learned to make light meals for the mornings when Nora's stomach felt unsteady. He massaged her lower back when it ached, not as a hero, but as a husband. He set phone reminders for vitamins and quietly held her accountable with a smile, never with pressure. Nora, for her part, let herself rest. She took short walks, breathed deeply, and practiced not apologizing for needing to sit down. She read short articles about pregnancy care and made a list of questions for the next appointment. She set boundaries with her time and with people who drained energy. She was not rude. She was focused. They began small preparations, slowly. They chose a corner by the window and set a simple basket there, lined with a clean white sheet. They did not buy everything at once. They picked items that felt necessary and kind. Soft cloths, gentle soap, a tiny hat, a blanket with a pattern of little stars. They folded each item carefully, as if the act itself was a welcome. Names became a game and a prayer. They wrote a list on a paper that lived on the fridge, names that meant remembrance, grace, light, and new day. Some Igbo, some English. They circled 2 favorites, but decided to wait until they met the baby's face. One afternoon, a message arrived from an old friend. "I heard your life is different now. I'm happy for you." A second message followed. "Kalu left town. People say he wants to start again elsewhere." Nora read, nodded without anger, and put the phone down. Forgiveness, she had learned, did not demand a door open. It simply removed a heavy stone from her chest so she could breathe. Time moved in gentle steps. At the next appointment, the doctor placed a Doppler on Nora's belly. The heartbeat filled the room again, steady, faithful. Nora squeezed Chike's hand, and he smiled like a man meeting music he already loved. Later, at home, she felt a flutter, soft, like a small fish turning in water. She froze, then laughed. "I think I felt something," she said. They waited, hands resting quietly on her belly, until the flutter came again, like a tiny hello. They both sat there for a long time, saying nothing, listening with their palms. That night, rain began softly, and Nora did not think of the veranda or the old suitcase or the locked door. She thought of the small basket waiting by the window, the names on the fridge, and the gentle thump of life under her hand. The past, once loud, now stood far away, as harmless as a closed gate you no longer have to touch. Labor began on a morning so clear it felt like a promise. Nora woke to a firm ache that visited, left, and returned with purpose. They timed the waves the way the nurse had taught them, packed a small bag, and left the house in clean, calm silence. At the hospital, nurses moved with practiced grace. A midwife with bright eyes explained each step in simple words. "Breathe here," she said. "Rest now." Chike stayed near, offering water, steadying her hand, and matching his breath to hers when the waves rose. He did not try to entertain or instruct. He simply stayed. Hours stretched, then narrowed. When the cry finally tore the room open, it was like a door flung wide to morning. The baby's voice filled the air, strong, refusing to be ignored. Nora laughed and cried at once. The midwife placed the little one on her chest. Warm skin met warm skin. The baby's fist unclenched and rested on Nora like a tiny promise. They named her a name that meant God remembers. The word felt right on their tongues, like a prayer completed. The first night at home was a new universe. Sleep came in short pieces. Time turned into small circles. Feed, burp, change, rest, repeat. The apartment shifted its breathing to match the baby's rhythm. The basket by the window became the center of the map. The framed line on the shelf, "Peace is worth choosing," seemed to watch over them like a quiet elder. Chike learned quickly how to fold the diaper edges, how to wear the baby safely against his chest, how to sway in the way that calmed her fastest. He set up a small table for night feeds, water, cloths, a soft lamp. He woke when Nora woke and slept when she slept, adjusting life to serve new life. Nora learned to ask for help. She learned that strength is not silence, it is wise sharing. She let her friend bring soup. She accepted the doctor's advice about rest. She let the apartment be a little messy when needed. She treated sleep like medicine, not a reward. Visitors came in small numbers, never at once. The lawyer brought a card that read, "To the woman who chose peace, may peace choose your daughter every day." The clinic doctor brought a tiny book with soft pages. A neighbor dropped off a basket of fruit and left a note. "We're happy for you." No noise, just joy. On the third day, Nora stood by the window while the baby slept in the basket. The afternoon light spread like warm water across the floor. She thought of the night long ago, the cold rain, the locked door, the suitcase on wet tiles. She pictured that younger version of herself and wanted to reach back through time to offer a coat in a steady voice. "You will find a better roof. Wait a little longer." Chike came beside her and placed a hand on her shoulder. "How is your heart?" he asked. "Soft," she said. "Full." "Any regrets?" he asked, not fishing, just inviting. "Only the years I believed I was less than I am," she answered. "But even those years taught me to guard this." They watched their daughter breathe, small chest rising like a tide. The baby made a face as if about to cry, then sighed and stayed asleep. Nora smiled. "She is dramatic already," she joked. "Or decisive," Chike said. "She knows what she wants." Later that evening, Nora wrote a short letter and tucked it into the baby's memory book. "My daughter, if you ever stand in a storm, remember, love does not throw you into the rain. Love opens a door and says, 'You are safe here.' Choose peace without apology. Ask for help without shame. Guard your heart and the hearts that trust you. And when you hear small feet running inside you, hope, joy, courage, make room for them. They are your future knocking." She slipped the letter into a clear pocket and closed the book. The small act felt like sealing a covenant, the end of old fear, the beginning of honest days. Night came gentle. The rain started, soft, not cruel, and tapped the roof like fingertips. The apartment glowed with a low lamp. The baby stirred, then settled. Nora leaned her head on Chike's shoulder, and he wrapped an arm around her. "Look," he whispered. The baby yawned, tiny mouth wide, hands stretching like petals opening. It was the quietest miracle Nora had ever seen. Outside, the world kept its busy rhythm. Cars, conversations, the city's constant hum. Inside, a new rhythm ruled. The breathing of a child in a safe home, and the steady agreement of two adults who had learned that love is not a performance, not control, not a test. Love is a daily choice to protect, to listen, to begin again. Nora kissed the baby's head and felt a stillness she had once thought impossible. She had not been barren. She had been buried under blame and loud shadows. Love had dug her out. Peace had given her roots. And now, in this small room with simple furniture and a bright new life, she blossomed.